Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. This is chapter 6 of Peacemaker, Murn, after reading. And we're just gonna get right into it with just like the episode, which literally I don't even think they have a previously on it, just right into Murn knocking Adebayo to the ground again.
Right.
But then we're like, nah, he's like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Like this isn't what this is about.
That completely caught me off guard. Completely.
Yeah.
I
And
was
then
expecting Hardcore to show up, and when she did, I was like, why aren't you shooting?
Yeah, her walking up, I'm like, oh, is she gonna be a butterfly too? And then she's like, no, I just know he is. And I like that she was like, I pieced it together and confronted him, and he was like, yeah, I'm a butterfly.
Yeah.
And she's like, we gotta tell everyone. She's like, yeah, I caught him his nose. He just always like tries to block it out.
La. No. Hilarious.
So yeah, everyone on the team but Waller, obviously, and Peacemaker know that Murn is a butterfly. But yeah, I don't think they get like they kind of the lead into this theme song is him being like, oh yeah, so there's a cow, and then they cut there. So I guess we'll follow up with that later. But basically, after the credits, Murn explains that the I guess it's the butterfly Peacemaker has. So they call it the Goff butterfly.
Yeah, Goff.
Senator they killed eventually.
Senator Goff, right?
Yes, Senator
Goff.
So,
right.
So that butterfly is the leader, and it's female, and it's the leader because it was female, basically.
Because
like,
the queen thing, right? Yeah, the vagina. I'm
like, he's like, what's her name? He's like, we don't our genitalia like you. That was no. What's the butterfly's name?
By far one of the funniest things. Well,
the way he delivered it was great. It was like,
it's so
well,
good.
Unlike you guys, we don't name our genitalia.
Oh, that is great. Yeah,
but I think he basically was saying, I am a good butterfly. And yeah, but you took someone over, you killed someone, because later on in the episode, and we will get to it, they show you what the process is like. And I was like, yeah, this seems horrible. It is not like a funny, like just up the butt or through the nose, like minor discomfort. Like it is intense. But she was like, yeah, you killed this person, Murn. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm sad about that, but also like this guy's a horrible person. I still have his thoughts like all the time. He's not. This wasn't a person with potential to change. He was just a bad person.
Yeah.
I wake up to his thoughts and it haunts me, like how bad this person is.
That's it's wildly interesting to me that it's like, yeah, we can retain their thoughts and take over. It's like I don't know what kind of like relationship that would be, but that's pretty insane. Because like when you saw Goff and like the head blown off and like the butterfly right there, and you're like, well, you obviously just take over everything. But no, the memory remains. And that's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like, yeah, they just take over like they can control a body that still has thoughts and feelings, though.
Yeah. And the awareness or the empathy that this butterfly in Murn expresses is one of those crazy things. And it's wild because like in those first couple episodes when they're like, Murn's not a good person, he's done, how do we trust him, and there's like this awkwardness that the team now we knew that he was a butterfly. It's like, yeah, he's not going to do that stuff anymore, he's just straight up not. And now
right, it is the butterfly that would make you be like, oh, I guess he's different. I mean, I get it, since they only knew of Murn, and so what if before they knew he was a butterfly, they would have just been like, this guy, like, I guess he changed. But my assumption is Harcourt's feeling is he probably was this shit person we couldn't trust, but the fact that he's got this butterfly in him means we can trust the butterfly, control this situation, and not have him turn on us.
Yeah, because I mean, like, especially with what she says later in the episode too, is like, you can't trust Waller. I'm like, okay, this character just doesn't trust anyone, and in this position, that's a smart thing. And you know, trusting the butterfly over Waller is, to me, it makes logical sense, especially when the butterfly continues to show, like, yeah, I'm still on your side, like, consistently.
He genuinely means them no harm. And so I guess we should say that the point of Murn's butterfly, I'm just going to call him Murn. The point of Murn is that he saw, oh, these are these malevolent butterflies, and I need to like put together a team to stop them. That like from the inside, I can see, oh, this is bad. I need to get people on board to kill these butterflies. I guess specifically Goff's butterfly
and his army, or her army.
Yes,
sorry,
her army,
because Goff's butterfly is female.
Yes. So that is the point of that. Then we get to a scene where I don't really know. I like it, but I don't really know how it plays in too much. But it's Peacemaker in the classroom, I guess doing a favor for the janitor from episode 1.
Right.
It's funny. I think it's not like I would take it out, but it doesn't feel as maybe it'll pay off, or maybe I just need to rewatch it. But I just kind of felt like, oh, this is just a fun reset, I guess. But I mean, obviously it plays up his insecurities that like he's on the same level as these kids, and even that kid when he's like, why are you my least favorite, and the kid's like, because I see through your bullshit. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I guess
your bullshit and you're a small person or something. Like, what did he say? Like, I don't remember, really, but
I think it does play into a scene later with Vigilante. I do think if you didn't already get that idea, like this idea that he only really wants to talk to people who can't actually talk back. So maybe that's what this scene was showing, is that like he underestimated kids, thinking like, oh, they'll just like that I'm a superhero and that's that. But then when kids start asking real, and not all of them are trying to make him look bad, but like the girl who was like, do you have an origin story? And that's like, fuck, I don't want to talk about that. So I think that's what this scene is highlighting. Again, there's a bunch of funny stuff, but it is, I guess, revealing that part of his character a bit more. And then they really nail it home with the vigilante conversation later. But it is kind of this idea where he's like, well, I can just talk at them, and then that'll be good. And then it's me fitting in.
Yeah, I got the sense that this is a guy that clearly thought he was seen a certain way, especially as a hero, right? He's being introduced as a hero to the classroom. And the fact that it's not unanimous support seems to just really get to him, right? Because throughout this whole series, we've seen him be like, I'm not a bad guy. It's like, yeah, you're kind of racist, dude. You disproportionately kill a lot of people of color. And your dad's like a racist, just straight up racist guy, and he's not good, and he's like forced to confront all these harsh realities, right? So with that one kid being like, yeah, I see right through you, and you're like a small person, and I don't respect you, or something like that, I think was really speaking to his level, because his character's a man-child, right? I identify with that a lot. And when a man-child is like, hey, I can't even get respect from these kids, and I'm being marketed as a superhero, and they're seeing right through my bullshit, that's going to cut right to his core. And the moment that, and I really wanted to ask you too, I'm like, because his level of self-realization, or just his introversion, self-awareness, introspection in this episode is just by far crazy to me. Like, it's so spot on. And I'm like, was that because of the kid? Right? Or was that because, like, did he have like lesser elements throughout the rest of the series, and now he's just at the culminating fulcrum point where he has to like, nope, I actually have to confront these things now.
I think it's more that I think everything that put things into place was killing Rick Flag. So I think before the show started, he was starting to actually look inwards. Otherwise, the Suicide Squad doesn't work. If that is how I see it. So I think it's more the latter, what you said, in terms of you're seeing him act like a culmination of a bunch of things happen. Because I don't think that would work if it was just that kid made him look inward. We've already seen him agonize over the fact that he killed Rick Flag, and that him in his head repeating what a joke. So that would be him being like, oh man, like I mean, obviously we as an audience could be like, you should have known this ahead of time, but that probably would have been the moment where he's like, maybe I'm not the good guy. And this show has been people constantly reminding him, yeah, maybe you aren't. But yeah, I'm glad we talked that through, because I was like, this seems like a funny scene, but yeah, I think it is him continuing to have that self-awareness.
Also wanted to highlight one of the biggest things is like, hey, did you know this person? Oh yeah, she was a great time. I was like, I think you might be my daddy. It just like cuts it off right there and then. That was, I mean, obviously not funny for that kid, but like in that scene, I'm just like, oh man, that is just, it's a little funny as an audience.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that the idea is he's not actually, but because this show does seem like, as we talked about, like they don't just let things go. So it seems like if that was really his daughter, like that would come up again. Maybe it will come up again, but
yeah,
I think it was just a joke. But as we've noticed in real time, I'm realizing this was less and less of just a joke. But yeah, next is Song releasing White Dragon. Yeah, I do like that she gets him back with the whole, I think your Google Translate is wrong. That what you just said means it looks like a dog took a shit on my head. But and then her partner ruining it by being like, wouldn't want to be I liked their dynamic. Just when she's like, you didn't have to add on to that. I got him. It's fine. It was like a redemption from the fork thing. But yeah, that basically she's in that scene. We see the information that she's like, I'm letting him go. She doesn't say it to Locke, but we know she went to her uncle. She got the warrant she needed, and she's going after Peacemaker.
Yep. She's doing the finger quotes right thing. Technically right. Oh god, technically right's still the best kind of right, but it rubs me the wrong way. Listen to the last episode. You'll hear us rant about that. I don't want to do it again.
We already went over the next scene. I'm just gonna skip over, but it is Adebayo asking Harcourt, like, hey, how can you trust Murn? So we already went over that. Like, she's just like, he can't be lying at this point. He's helped us way too much.
Yeah.
But also within that scene is Murn getting tipped off by Locke that the police are coming for Peacemaker.
Yeah, that caught me as a surprise, because I was like, wait, hold up. Murn's in with this guy.
Yeah,
we didn't trust this guy. Yeah, but I'm like,
because he was like, don't worry, I got you. He's like, yeah, I got your back. Don't worry, I'll do this for you.
Right.
The only thing that surprised me was that he wasn't a butterfly as well. But I guess that's the whole point, is no one knows Murn is a butterfly, or else it wouldn't work if anyone else knew he was a butterfly. As in, whatever, I'm overcomplicating things. I thought Locke was also a butterfly just because of how weird he acts, but it turns out he's just a weird guy.
Wait, he's not a butterfly? He's definitely a butterfly.
No, he gets turned into one at the end, remember?
Yeah, but I mean, nothing in the biology of this tells me that a butterfly can't take over and internally in the battle, in the brain battle. Really?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No, he was not. He's just a weird guy.
So, I mean, okay, we'll get to that scene later, and of course, the after credits scene kind of points into this. But I don't know if that was just like, oh yeah, we're leaving it in this because this is really just funny. But
I don't. Yeah. Those the post credit, as we said, those are just alternate takes. Like that's just funny. So that isn't like, oh, this is how it could have gone. Like I think they're all just. We just put this as to be funny. Like it's not anything. But
right. But even if it was an alternate take, it would have been like, hey, do this and we'll like decide what we're leaving in, right? What makes the final cut. It's just like, it was still a direction at one point to at least conceive it
that looked like that was him doing that. That's probably why it never made it.
Gotcha.
I don't think that was like a thing, but yeah,
he went rogue.
Yeah, Logan's just a weird guy. Locke, sorry. So where are we now? Yeah, this is Vigilante visiting Peacemaker. So obviously you were right. He was just keeping the butterfly because he wanted to feel good about himself. There was no real attachment to this creature.
Mm-hmm.
He said he wanted answers, but I still contest he wasn't really looking for them until the butterfly offered up like a way of communicating. It didn't really seem like that was actually on his mind. But I guess as he says, this is like Tiger King. I want to make myself feel better by like capturing a dangerous thing and having it on a leash, so to speak. So you were right about that. Yeah.
It's to me, I'm like, whether I think the gathering information part only came true just because the golf butterfly learned how to do a peace sign. And then
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he was ever looking for information. I think it was just what they
lucked out.
He said exactly what he actually wanted out of that situation, which was to have a proverbial tiger on a leash.
Because he's insecure about his masculinity.
Yes.
So he needs those props to it's like the the 4x4 trucks with the testicles on the on the back. It's like, oh, that's what this guy is insecure about. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
So there's that, and then so Vigilante was kind of like, hey man, you need to stop with that. And kind of what we said on our first episode, like the more you're aware of yourself, probably the least happy you'll be, like, is kind of the thesis of this show. And he's saying like you do not want to look into the mind. Like that is something to run away from. And I can't remember the order of things, but I believe throughout their time in the trailer, it goes to that and to them trying to do the whole 1 tap for yes, 2 taps for no thing, where he just doesn't get the idea of yes or no questions, and he's like, yeah, this is your problem though. Like you just want to talk. You're not actually looking for a conversation. How's that for introspection? He's like, you think this is cool just because you have Eagly and the butterfly. They can't actually talk back to you. And even in this situation where you're asking for information, it's only yes or no stuff. So I think as much as Vigilante talks about not wanting to know more about himself, he does know about other people, and we've seen him in earlier episodes actually learn more about himself and his other relationships. So yeah, I think a bit of Peacemaker in that sense is rubbing off on him in terms of actually reading the situation and not just living in your own made up reality.
His this is, I always like when those friend scenes get to that volatile boiling point where there's a lot of truth that comes out about the relationship. This was a great scene. Just them going back and forth each other, watching Peacemaker be like, oh, this is kind of what accountability is starting to look like. You're starting to get it. You're starting to process information.
Well, I mean, not in that scene, because even after he gets told that, he looks like he's processing him, but then continues to say, hey, shut the fuck up. And like it's that joke of like, oh, you never listen. Shut up. I'm trying to think right now. Like, you know, that typical, like that's what they do in that scene. But I do think the information landed with him. It's just, we've seen him try to deflect in moments and not actually use that information in the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically while they're doing that, Detective Song and her posse are gathering, and Murn is trying to call Peacemaker, and Economist thinking is like, why don't you call Vigilante? Like, obviously that's what's gonna work. And I like that Vigilante tries to pretend like he's not Adrian Chase.
What Adrian?
Adrian tries to pretend he's not Vigilante. Like Vigilante, I don't know.
This is Adrian. Like he's still at this point thinking his secret identity is just still a secret. When I can't help but point out, he arrived in the trailer, and later on we find this when they're trying to escape. But he's like, "How'd you get here? Uber." And I'm like, you rode that whole thing with your helmet on or without your helmet. Either way, your Uber's linked to some sort of personal identification. It's at this point, it's really inconsistent how much he cares about his identity. But it's just hilarious to be like, instinctually I have to put on a show for these people, even though they know.
But basically, yeah, they get raided. They do get out, but during the raid, the police find that planted diary.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the scene where we see like Vigilante tapes the butterfly to himself but falls. The butterfly gets loose. It's not like I was like, how dare they? I was just like, wow, I wasn't prepared for how violent it actually is for a butterfly to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes right into Song's mouth and she just coughs up a bunch of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we know she's not dead, but it was still like her partner is truly affected by that.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah,
I want to point out something too, like, and I believe we're doing like a whole series recap of this, but like in the Book of Boba Fett, in one of the episodes, there's like a very similar thing where like the Tusken Raiders have this insect go up his nose too, and I'm like, that was so much more tame than this. This is violent.
That, I mean, that's different, right? Like that makes sense narratively why that bug that goes up your nose that is supposed to enlighten you and open you up wouldn't be a violent thing.
Yes. Versus this was like, no,
we're killing you and then taking over.
Yeah, we're taking over. This is our body now, like all that kind of stuff. Whereas the other thing was just like, no, this is a version of some sort of vision quest, so to speak, you know? And
there's a bit of discomfort, but it's not ultimately a bad thing for you.
And there's growth through that discomfort. This is just death through this discomfort, with what we know. Apparently there's still residual thoughts in there, so how much could we argue if someone's actually dead?
You cease to exist as in that sense. Like it is just
you're not in control anymore.
So it is a death. It's not 100% dead, but it is like you aren't in control anymore. It is a death. You are going through a death. Anyway, so Peacemaker and Vigilante and Eagly really pulling his weight in this escape.
Oh my god,
doing great. I really like how it's shot. It's a nice kind of. It reminded me. It doesn't feel as tight, but it reminded me of the Hawkeye and Kate Bishop escape in the car, like just the way that it was like a 360 camera type thing. I liked it a lot, but ultimately it's Locke that saves them. He kills everybody else. I think we'll get to it at the post credit, but that's kind of what leads to that awkward thing he's doing with it. Okay, axe that. But anyway, so he basically is like, hey, there's a car waiting for you guys. I got this. So he's out and he tries to I genuinely didn't catch it at first. I mean, it's very obvious, but the way he was delivering it, I was like, is this just a coincidence that he's describing the Hamburglar? And then I'm like, oh no, obviously he's being a dick. But like when Song's like, where'd they go? It wasn't Peacemaker. It was this redheaded man. He had black and white stripes, and he would say rabble rabble.
And he had a fedora on.
Yeah, I think it's a fedora.
And he went that way, and he pointed, and like when he pointed off or something like that, I was just like, is this butterfly code? What's going on here? Because when he said rabble rabble, is that something the Hamburglar says?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Rabble rabble is just, that was in case you were like me and didn't quite get that he was just being an asshole. It's like, well now you know for sure he's describing the Hamburglar.
Because I completely did not get that. Because I just don't know. I don't know the Hamburglar in any other format other than print on a Happy Meal. I've never seen the Hamburglar speak.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm like,
he would just be like rabble rabble and take stuff. But yeah, so yeah, he would. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. He's not a butterfly. He's just an asshole. He's like a weird guy who is an asshole. But yeah, he tries to throw it up, but obviously that doesn't matter because Song at that point isn't Song. So she's not operating on like, oh, I gotta. Okay, she was like, okay, well, I'm done with this conversation. This isn't gonna help me.
Right,
and then just goes off. But I did like that moment of being like, it seems like he's describing the Hamburger. Oh yeah, okay, he is. I was just like, wait, what? What did he say?
Yeah, that went above my head for sure. Until he said, I'm like, is he actually? And then I look back and I'm like, yeah, that's hilarious that he is.
So the one thing he does successfully, I mean, other than get Peacemaker and Vigilante out of there unscathed, he does intercept the diary.
Yes,
so he's able to give Murn a heads up, but that is like one thing he does that's solid. I mean, um if he wasn't taken over by butterflies, that would have been like, oh, okay, I guess that's gonna ruin Amanda Waller's plans that he's got this diary
Yeah.
now. But that's a short-lived win for the team, I guess.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, so then the next thing is Song going into the station and basically rewiring the computer so she can send her message out to the rest of the butterflies. And the interesting thing about this was just like, it's not a fault in the show, but I was just like, her partner is so like out of it that he's just like, come on, man, those aren't even words. I'm like, but it looks like glyphs, like it looks like something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, hey, what's going on? Like he was, and I get it, they were really playing up just how concerned for her she is. He's like, you had a head injury, like we should be taking you to a hospital. So it's not that he's like, he's this doofus that doesn't know. It was more like his concern for her well-being over and maybe you could look at it as him underestimating her strength, but I don't think so. I think if you see a butterfly go into someone's mouth and they cough up a bunch of blood and pass out for an extended period of time, you would be like, let's get you to a hospital, please. Like we need to sort
Right.
stuff out.
But to be clear, the only people that saw that butterfly thing was Peacemaker and Vigilante. Like
Okay,
nobody else saw.
I thought he ran in on the end of it.
Well, maybe but the butterfly, I don't think visually was accessible to him. It was just like the idea of like,
so
she's
he
still
just
spasming.
saw her coughing up blood and on the ground.
Yeah, like
Still
maybe had a
enough for me to
seizure
be
or
like,
something
hey,
like
like
that.
let me help you.
Oh, every aspect of what he did was legitimate, especially if like with what the butterfly reveals in that scene is like, hey, she cared for you. Like, and then you think, oh, well, the way he's acting, maybe he cares for her too. And there was like, a romantic feelings.
I don't know if it was romance.
Feelings
I think
of
they're
caring.
I think they're playing up the whole like when you have a partner as a police officer, like that is a serious bond,
A sacred bond. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's what they're playing up in here.
Because
I could be wrong, but I got the sense just the way they interact that like this is more of like a familial bond, less a romantic one.
Right, but nonetheless a bond. And that it's funny to me because like throughout the whole show, like you're right, the partner is portrayed a little bit of as a doofus, right? In the sense where it's they get the dad out of jail in that scene, and then it's like she's got this amazing delivery line, and he just comes in with a goofy "wouldn't want to be ya," and I'm like, yeah, dude, you totally misread that situation. No, man. Like
I mean, he wanted to insert himself. Yeah.
Yes, and just like, oh, you just undercut the whole conversation there with that.
And I guess that's what I like about the scene is it's less this time. It's less about him being a goofy guy and more about his genuine concern for his friend.
Yep. Colleague,
still
whatever we want to say. Yeah,
he's missing the point like he has in other scenes, but this is more tied to his immediate concern for his friend.
Yeah, I can understand how the emotions would blind him as to being like, hey, what are you typing right now? That's a weird Minecraft language. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, like he doesn't even go there. He's just like, you're not even typing words. Like we need to get you to a hospital. So it's like, I just noted that like it's a nice beat for him, but that still isn't that flattering. It's kind of just like, you still don't know what you're doing, but at least this time it's because of your genuine concern of your friend.
Yeah, because I just think I'm like, anyone that saw that screen would have been like, these are police surfers. How did you get access to anything outside of the restricted internet search zones if you're not in the digital forensics?
I guess the good thing is he stopped being a cop in that moment. Like he stopped. True. Yeah. The good thing is it was like, no, this is actually about the human connection now.
Yes.
Like all of that went out the window.
Absolutely.
He's like afraid for his friend. Yeah.
And
so basically, after that, Economist tracks down the cow that was set up in the beginning, and you find out that's the animal butterflies use to feed off of, and that produces that amber liquid that we've seen. I don't think we don't see the animal, but we see like the container, I guess, or something. I don't remember.
Well, we see the vat, we see the facility, which is a barn. But you're right, we don't see the animal yet, and I'm imagining that's the final episode payoff. Where because they said like, hey, they burrow underground, look at what Goff's family did, they burrowed, and like the whole thing, like if there is a cow, it's burrowed under there.
And so then what this does is Peacemaker's there with everyone. He still doesn't know that Murn is a butterfly, and that it's really nicely played by everyone trying to avoid eye contact.
Oh my god.
But like,
yeah.
he at least knows enough to know that they had a bunch of information that he didn't. By being like, what the fuck is this cow thing? And because they were giving him shit earlier in the scene, I guess because of the diary. Like Murn's like, you kept a diary? Like, what the fuck is this? But like, which obviously he didn't, and he would push back like even angrier than before. But I like that it ended on him being like, oh, I'm the asshole, but you guys are keeping all this stuff from me, which is a through line I've appreciated throughout, that he's constantly been like, what are butterflies? Like, what are we even doing? And never, people don't, I mean, they ended up last episode giving him the information on butterflies, but that was a while into it. And so that he feels like he's constantly being held at arm's length.
Yeah. And I identify with that feeling. Like, this episode made me identify with Peacemaker so much in that sense, where it's just like, yeah, you're just, no one's talking to you at all, and everyone's making decisions around you that seriously affect you. And everyone's like, no, we talked about this. I'm like, but why am I not informed about this talk, and why are these talks happening without me? And I'm like, hey, when he says like, so much for being a team, I'm like, yes, thank you for that.
Well, he said, oh, I'm the asshole for thinking we're actually a team.
Right. So he says that, and I'm like, yes, like, I don't understand why this is like, that was so frustrating to watch him go through. And I'm like, I identify with that so much. It's a wonderful scene to me. Like, it's wonderful how he's just like, nope. And the idea of like, everyone's calm around him, he's like emotional, exploding and doing all that kind of stuff because he's a man child. He can't control his emotions the same way, but there's a legitimate, he's making legitimate points.
Is less
about
a man child thing. I think this is, considering what's at stake and like how high pressure this work is, I think it's a very reasonable response to what's happening. He didn't flip over a table, he didn't hit anybody, he was just very vocal about, hey, fuck you guys, you keep me at a distance, but it's me that you're asking to like do to carry out stuff. Yes, there's a team, but it's I think it's very clear, like, they're the support for him to get done what they want him to get done. And so I think that's less of a man-child thing. I think that's actually, I think it's framed a different way, because he's the person that needs the information, but people keep, as you said, keep him in the dark about decisions they're making for him. And I think that was a reasonable response to already this tension around, hey, you kept the diary, which he knows he didn't do, and then being like, oh, and you guys have all this other stuff going on, which would lead you to second guess them pressing you about a diary. You'd be like, well, you're keeping this stuff from me, like what else are you keeping from me? It's crazy making. It's the beginnings of gaslighting, right? Like, you can't I don't think this was a outburst from a man-child.
Fair enough. It is. Yeah, because I look at that, I'm like, he's being gaslit right now heavily. And I what I do like from the team is that they're not trying to control his response there. They're to a degree letting him ride it out. Now, I don't know if it's just like, oh, let his temper tantrum pass and he'll be whatever, or whether or not they're like, yep, we are doing this and we need to hear this right now. And the way he's delivering it, we need to hear it right now, right? I don't know what that is, but it's just, I really just appreciated the fact that they let him do his thing. But I'm also convinced that if anyone were to interject, he would have definitely escalated to the point where he would have shut other people down in what he was saying, or what they would be saying too. Especially like the way he did, like what, and this is one of, we're at the scene, right? Where they do the Asian Oriental thing. Like, this is the scene, right? Yeah. Where Vigilante, and love this scene so much, because I've had this argument so many different times and been gaslight wildly. But like, the idea of him having this like Vigilante being like the Oriental woman, and then he's like, and then Peacemaker just all of a sudden out of nowhere just corrects him and just like Asian, and then has that small little sidebar of like, wait, or I'm pretty sure she was Oriental. It's like, yeah, but you can't say Oriental anymore. You have to say Asian. And then they're like, well, why? I'm like, well, nobody knows why. It's just, you can't do it. And then Hardcore chimes in. Actually, we know why, asshat. And it's because Oriental is derogatory because it implies you're other than, you're other people, you're not within. And his dismissal of that immediate being like, okay, what is this like? It's like we're getting points for the like leftist Olympics or something like that now, like, you know, and he just tries to shut that down. And I love what Adebayo just says immediately with that side eye. He's like, oh yeah, it's such an inconvenience for the straight white man to change one word in his vocabulary. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's literally all it is. It's one word. I'm like, don't use that word. I don't like that word. And then you know, this is I love seeing this response because I'm like, I wish this happened more, as opposed to people just being quiet. And
yeah,
you know, it was wonderful for me to see. And obviously the scene plays out exactly how I feel. It's like, yeah, this is why you don't call people Oriental. It's not a good term.
No, you definitely should not.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said,
dehumanizing.
It's entirely dehumanizing.
Yeah.
And like you said before, this, like, whether or not he's actually self-realized, he's still defensive when called out on certain things, as you know, usually everyone is like, hey, you got it right, but you're missing the reason why. He's like, I don't care about the reason why, I just did it right. I'm like, oh, you should care about the reason why, otherwise it's performative. But yeah, it's a wonderful scene. Wonderful.
Agreed. So then after that, the butterflies come and White Dragon suits up. This is kind of like they're rallying all the different bad guys. It reminded me of the last scene of Invincible on Amazon Prime, where you're like, oh wow, look, there's a lot. I mean, this is just not just. It's two sets of armies, basically. One greatly outnumbers the other one, but it's like two sets of armies converging on Peacemaker independently. And just like Invincible, where you saw all the different threats he was going to face, presumably in seasons to come, like kind of rallying at the end. So it was like a nice scene. I like the needle drop. I don't actually know the song, but I was just like, man, this is working for me. And yeah, so that kind of plays out. And then we have a scene where Adebayo actually talks to her wife, and she's like, oh, like, I'm so upset because I betrayed Peacemaker, but now I have information that I don't want to tell my mom, but if I don't tell her, I'm betraying her. This is all so much for me. And I don't know, like, I've heard other podcasters basically feel like this show is about how Adebayo breaks bad, even though I'm concerned I'm convinced, not concerned, I'm convinced she already is. Like, I feel like we've set up through the episodes like all the different ways she's manipulated things. She's a nice, like, she seems like a nice person, but she is manipulative and has manipulated people to do what she wants. But I guess people are like, no, this is her breaking, and this is what's going to turn her into a bad guy. I'm like, I think she's already there. But a scene like this, I don't really know what the direction was, because it doesn't reveal one way or the other, like, how she's actually feeling. I think it still fits into the narrative that now she's getting like, maybe she does genuinely feel bad about what she did, and this is her having someone absolve her and be like, oh, don't worry about it then, like, then I'll find a job then, like, you don't have to do this anymore. But who knows what will play out. This kind of I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it kind of threw me off. I'm like, I don't know, this could go for people who think that this show was about how she tries it and realizes she doesn't, like, it ruined her. But I'm like, I think she's already was this way. I think that was why Amanda Waller was like, you should be doing this, you would be good at it, you should be doing it. But we'll see how it all plays out.
So to be clear, do those podcasters say like the show is about her breaking bad and all that kind of stuff? Because I'm like, it's kind of a big stretch when the show is called Peacemaker.
Well, okay, sorry. that's a literal take of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, like, her storyline is about
her arc.
Yeah,
I see. Gotcha. I just want to clarify. I'm like, I think they have it wrong for a different reason, but her character arc breaking bad, I'm on the side that I don't think she is. I genuinely do not think she's going to break bad. I think she's going to die. I don't think she's breaking bad. I think she's going to sacrifice herself somehow.
Yeah, I think she already is bad, and maybe she just finally did something that doesn't sit right with her. Like maybe she
Right.
is like, I didn't actually feel good about planting that diary, because of all the things we're talking about, or we have talked about, so like having Harcourt kill someone instead of her having to do it, having her wife leaves instead of her being like, you gotta leave, like all these things are her getting people to do, or having Vigilante try to kill Peacemakers. Those are all things she doesn't have to do, she gets other people to do. Planting the diary is something she had to do. Yeah, sure, she's has to manipulate the situation so she can get in there, but this was a time where she actually had to carry out doing the bad thing. Even as I said, even when she shot Judo Master, she didn't shoot to kill. I think that was like, it was a very clear shot, but she did not shoot to kill. And they did the joke about like, oh, he just moved around his organs, but I'm pretty sure she knew she wasn't killing him, so she still didn't have to kill. But yeah, I think that was what confused me. It's like, I don't know what's going on here, but maybe we just finally got to a point where she's doing something she didn't like, and this might turn her off the idea of continuing doing what she's doing. Yep. Looks like we lost Ben, but that's okay. We're almost done the episode. Harcourt gives Peacemaker the Dove of Peace on one of the weapons, and lets him know she only thinks he's 85% a piece of shit, which I'm not really on board with the whole forgiving him right away, but obviously he's the lead of the show, so people need to find redeeming qualities about him. So we will let that go, and she finally lets Peacemaker know her first name is Amelia. So that is nice for them. And then we end on the police conference, which is pinning all these murders on Peacemaker, especially the Senator Goff, and that basically every precinct and police station has a mandate to capture a Peacemaker. So we know that that's because the butterflies have taken over, but they've taken over police. So here we are. We're going into the final 2 episodes, as I said, with 2 armies who are about to come down hard on Peacemaker. So hopefully he makes it out a better person, and having finally defeated his father, metaphorically or literally, by the end of it. Excellent. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. If you'd like to hear other great podcasts, just remember we're on the That Shelf Podcast Network. There's great shows like Bad Game Movies, Black Hole Films, Changing Rails, a whole bunch of things. So please head on over there. You'll see those podcasts. You'll see other podcasts. And if you'd like to hear older episodes of Spoiled Rotten, please head to tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @tdfspoiled. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, a whole bunch of places. So head there, rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends. And if we're not where you like to get your podcasts, please let us know and we will fix it. And yeah, sorry that it's just me for the end of this, but yeah, we are looking forward to the next episode.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.